I drove into my hometown last week, 15 years after I'd left. I had just turned 34. The streets felt like ghosts of my childhood. The houses were smaller, the fences chipped, and the old playground was rusty. Everything was dimmer, as if the colors had faded over time. I felt uneasy, but I wanted to reconnect with old friends and maybe face some shadows from my past. I decided to stop at the local diner, a place I used to love. It was surprisingly busy for a midday meal. As I sipped my coffee, I overheard whispers about an old abandoned house on the edge of town. People said it was haunted. My curiosity piqued. I asked the waitress about it. She laughed nervously and told me something terrible happened there long ago. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Instead of turning away, it pulled me in. The next day, I drove to the old house. I wasn't sure why it felt so important. As I stood in front of it, the air felt thick. The property was overgrown, weeds clutching at the crumbling structure. I hesitated, but I pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, almost like a warning. Inside, it was dark and silent. I blinked to adjust my eyes to the gloom. I expected to find dust, but instead, I saw strange drawings on the walls. They looked like children's art, but something was off about them. The figures were distorted. I felt a pang of familiarity, but I couldn't place it. My heart started racing. The room felt like it was closing in on me. I noticed one drawing in particular, a figure with wild eyes. It was positioned in a way that made it seem alive, like it was watching me. I wanted to turn away, but I couldn't. A distant memory flickered at the back of my mind, a friend I had lost. Suddenly, I heard a shuffle behind me. I turned quickly, barely glimpsing a shadow dart past a doorway. "Hello? Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice shaky. There was no answer. My hands trembled as I moved deeper into the house, compelled by whatever was pulling me toward it. As I walked further in, I found an old newspaper article tacked to the wall. The headline made my stomach drop. It told of a girl who had vanished near there when we were kids. Panic set in. My memories felt tangled and distorted. I continued deeper into the house, my heart pounding. Then I noticed something flicker in the corner of my eye. I turned and swore I saw a flash of her face. I froze, breath caught in my throat. Then I heard a whisper soft as silk. "Why didn't you remember?" I felt my body go cold. Suddenly, it was too much. The room was spinning, and the shadows felt alive. I stumbled back, gasping, paralyzed by confusion and fear. I didn't understand what just happened. I just knew I had to leave. I ran out of that house, and the door slammed shut behind me. Now, I can't shake the feeling that something was waiting in those shadows, something I was meant to discover. But now I'm left with questions that haunt me. I didn't sleep well that night. My mind was a torrent of panic and muddled memories. I kept replaying the face I thought I saw, the whisper that echoed in my ears. I had to find out what happened to her. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I resolved to visit the local library the next day, hoping to dig up information about the girl who vanished. The library wasn't far, just a few blocks down from the diner. The familiar scent of old books hit me as I stepped inside. It was quiet. Too quiet. I approached the reference desk, where a librarian I vaguely recognized was busy typing. "Excuse me," I said, hesitant. "I'm looking for information about a girl who went missing around here. Her name was—" I paused, trying to remember. "I think it was Emma." The librarian looked up and narrowed her eyes. "Emma Keller?" she asked, her tone chilly. I nodded, surprised. "Do you have any records?" She turned and pulled out a file from a cabinet behind her. "It's a very old case. They never found her," she said, handing me the folder. I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. Inside were newspaper clippings, photographs, and a report detailing the search parties that had combed the woods and nearby fields. Each article conveyed the same despair. As I read, I felt that horrible ache in my chest. "Do you know how long ago it happened?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It was 15 years ago, just a few days before school started," she replied, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't quite decipher. "It's been a long-standing mystery in town. I forced a smile, trying to mask my growing dread. "Thanks," I managed to say as I stood to leave, clutching the folder tightly. I had to learn more, but that dark feeling hung over me like a cloud. Back in my car, I flipped through the news articles. A chill ran through me when I noticed a familiar name in another clipping. My best friend Lily had been mentioned as one of the last people to see Emma. My mind raced. I hadn't thought about her in years. "What did you know, Lily?" I mumbled to myself. I decided I had to talk to her. I drove to her old house, hoping she still lived there. It was a quaint little place, just as I remembered. The lawn was trimmed, and there were flowers blooming on the porch. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding. After a few moments, a woman opened the door. It was Lily, but she looked different. Tired, perhaps? "Hi. It's been a long time," I said, forcing a smile. "The past is a weight," she replied, her gaze drifting. "What brings you here?" I hesitated. I didn't want to scare her with the truth about why I'd returned. Just thought I'd visit an old friend. I heard about Emma and I wanted to catch up. Her expression tightened. "Some things shouldn't be dug up," she said softly. "Why?" I pressed, feeling an urgency rise inside me. "What do you know?" For a moment I thought she might close the door on me. Then she stepped back, motioning for me to come in. "There are stories you won't want to hear," she murmured. That's when I realized I was about to unravel something I might not be ready for. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, hoping for answers, but fearing what they might bring. The living room was small and cluttered, filled with mismatched furniture and an old television that flickered in the corner. I could feel the weight of memories pressing in. Lily sank into an overstuffed armchair, and I chose a rigid wooden seat across from her. It felt oddly formal, like we were meeting for business rather than catching up as friends. "Tell me what you remember about Emma," I said. I needed to probe, to push past the apprehension hanging in the air. Lily looked away, her fingers tracing patterns on the arm of her chair. "It's hard to think about," she admitted. "We were kids. We thought we could do anything. You know how it was, right? We played out in the woods, made up stories." I nodded, urging her to continue. But that day was different. Her face paled, the light in her eyes dimming as she recalled those memories. "We went to the creek," she said slowly. "Emma wanted to catch frogs. Then she just disappeared. One minute she was there laughing, and the next minute, her voice trailed off." "What happened next?" I pressed, my pulse racing as each word hung heavier in the air. "The search parties came. I thought they'd find her," Lily said, her eyes glassy. "But days passed and they didn't. We were kids, so we crept back to the woods. I thought maybe she was hiding." I leaned forward, desperate for clarity. "Did you see anything? Did you hear anything?" Lily flinched at the question. "It's not what I saw. It's what I felt, like something was wrong. I had this dream about her. She was calling my name, but it felt different, almost like a warning." She shook her head as if trying to dispel shadows. "I don't want to remember that." A chill crawled up my spine. "But you have to remember. It could be important." She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. I remembered the name. Lucy. The name was foreign to me. Lucy was always with us, but never really part of our group. She was the outsider. "Who was Lucy?" I asked, feeling a knot of confusion tightening in my chest. "I don't know," Lily said, voice shaky. "But I think she was there that day. I just can't shake the feeling. Something happened between them. Something bad." Before I could respond, the room grew colder. A noise echoed from the back of the house like a soft rustling. Lily tensed, staring at the hallway leading to the kitchen. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. "I did," I said. My heart raced as I rose from my chair. "What was that?" We exchanged worried glances, the air thick with tension. "I don't know," Lily said, her voice trembling. "But we should check." I nodded grimly. Together we moved cautiously toward the sound. As we stepped into the hallway, my mind was filled with dread. Then everything went dark. The darkness swallowed us, but a distant rustling pulled me back. I blinked, trying to adjust to the shadowy outline of the hallway. Lily's hand gripped my arm, her breath coming in quick gasps. "Did you see that?" she whispered, trembling. I turned my head toward where I thought I heard the noise come from. A faint glimmer of light peeked through the crack of the kitchen door, flickering like a candle in the wind. "Lily," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Stay close to me." We approached the door, each step echoing in the stillness. My pulse drummed in my ears as I reached for the handle. Just as my fingers brushed the cold metal, a crash resonated from within the kitchen. Something had fallen. The sound shattered the eerie quiet. Instinct kicked in and I jerked the door open. "Hello." My voice wavered, reverberating through the expansive kitchen. The room was bathed in shadows, the dim light flickering erratically overhead. Panic clawed at my throat. What if someone was in the house? I scanned for an intruder, but the kitchen was empty. Just the overturned chairs and a table set like no one had left. "Lily," I called, feeling the fear tighten around me. I turned back to find her still standing in the hallway, eyes wide and fixed on something behind me. "Look," she breathed, pointing. I turned slowly. In the corner of the kitchen, something glistened beneath the table. My stomach twisted at the sight. It was a small, weathered toy, a little frog, the same kind Emma used to catch by the creek. "What is that doing here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Lily replied, stepping forward to inspect it. "But that's—" She swallowed hard. "That's Emma's." The air grew thicker as I reached down to pick up the toy. My fingers traced the edges, feeling its familiar contours. Then suddenly, I remembered Lucy's face. The pale girl with the sad eyes I'd seen once in a faded memory. "Why would this be here?" I asked, dread creeping into my tone. "What does it mean?" Before Lily could respond, the light emitted a bright spark and flickered out, plunging us back into darkness. A rasping whisper skimmed across my ears, barely audible. "Help me." I felt dizzy. The chilling sensation of being watched prickled my skin. "Did you hear that?" My heart raced as I steadied myself against the table. "I did," Lily said, her voice shaking. "It came from the basement." A new wave of fear washed over me. "We can't go down there," I said instinctively. My mind raced, trying to remember the warnings about the old house. I have to know," Lily stammered, eyes wide with determination. "Maybe Emma's down there. We can help her." Without waiting for my response, she made her way toward the basement door, the wood creaking beneath her weight. "Lily, wait!" But she opened it, the dark maw of the stairs leading down into oblivion. Then suddenly I caught a glimmer of movement at the edge of the doorframe, a fleeting shadow, almost human-like. My breath hitched. "Did you see that?" I asked, urgency rising in my voice. No answer came. I reached out to pull Lily back, but it was too late. She stepped inside, and all at once the darkness came alive. The moment Lily disappeared into the basement, a heavy silence enveloped me. My heart raced as I stood frozen at the top of the stairs. Shadows danced around me, and the whispers seemed to echo louder in the stillness. "Lily!" I called. The panic in my voice ricocheted through the kitchen, but no answer came. I hesitated, fighting the urge to bolt after her. I didn't want to face whatever lurked in the darkness. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward and peered into the basement. The stairs vanished into a black void, and I could barely make out the splintered wooden railing. I strained my ears for any sound. A voice, footsteps, anything, but nothing. Just quiet. "Lily?" I tried again, my voice a faint tremor in the oppressive air. I had to follow her. The thought of being alone sent a wave of dread crashing over me. As I descended the stairs, the old wood creaked under my weight, echoing ominously in the darkness. The air turned cold, nipping at my skin, and a shiver ran down my spine. I reached for the wall, my fingers trembling as they brushed against the rough surface. Then, from below, I heard it again, the whisper, clearer now. "Help me." It was a girl's voice, soft yet demanding, almost desperate. "Please." "Lily, is that you?" I called, pausing midway down. My mind raced through the possibilities. Was it really her, or was it something else? Something that wanted to lure me deeper. "Down here!" she shouted. The urgency in her tone struck me like a bolt of lightning. I quickened my pace, barely able to see the steps before me. The basement opened up into a larger room, marked by old boxes and an unsettling chill. A thin beam of moonlight filtered through a cracked window, illuminating the edges of the space like a spotlight. I saw Lily standing at the end of the room, glancing back at me with wide eyes. "What did you find?" I asked as I approached her, trying to catch my breath. "Look." She pointed to a corner, and as my eyes followed her gesture, I froze. A wooden trunk sat there, aged and battered, with strange symbols scratched into the surface. "What is that?" I asked, dread creeping back in. "Maybe it's the answer. Maybe it has something to do with Emma," she suggested, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. "No, Lily, we should go back now," I insisted, stepping back. The air seemed heavier, pressing down on me. My instincts screamed that this was a bad idea, but Lily stepped forward, kneeling beside the trunk, brushing her fingers over the symbols. I could hear the faint rustle of fabric, and suddenly, the air became electric with anticipation. "Please, help me." The voice rang out again, clearer this time, almost as if it were coming from the trunk itself. The room turned colder, and I stood frozen, gripped by fear. Something was inside that trunk, and it wasn't just our curiosity driving Lily. It felt like a trap tightening around us. "Lily, we need to leave," I shouted, a surge of panic coursing through me. But as I reached for her arm to pull her back, the trunk rattled violently, a deep groan resonating from within. That's when I saw it. Fingers, pale and skeletal, reaching through a crack in the lid. I stumbled backward, heart racing, mind racing, everything collapsing around me. "Get away!" I yelled. And then the darkness closed in. The darkness didn't just close in. It swallowed everything whole. I blinked, trying to gather my thoughts, but my mind was a chaotic swirl of fear and confusion. The cold air was suffocating, pressing down on me like a weight that I couldn't shake off. I fought the urge to scream again, searching desperately for a way out. But all I could think about was Lily and that trunk. As I scanned the room, the shadows seemed to pulse as if alive, contorting in ways that made my heart race. "Lily!" I shouted again, more frantic this time. I needed to know she was okay. "I'm right here," she called back, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me, only to be quickly overshadowed by dread again as I moved cautiously towards her. The trunk rattled again, louder this time, and I could see the fingers, their pale skin glistening in the dim light, growing more agitated with each rattle. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't tear my eyes from the sight. What was emerging from it? "Stay back," I warned, but Lily didn't move. She seemed entranced, the symbols on the trunk reflecting in her wide eyes. "Ta shu yao bangju." The whisper echoed through the darkness, the words unfamiliar yet hauntingly clear. I had no idea what it meant, but the voice was distinct. It was almost pleading. "Lily, please, it's not what you think." I rushed towards her, grabbing her arm firmly this time, trying to pull her away from the trunk. As I did, the air seemed to pulse with an energy I couldn't comprehend. My fingers brushed against the trunk, and I felt a jolt. A chill raced through me, sparking memories long buried. "Help!" The voice came again, but this time it turned into a wail. My heart dropped. In that moment, my memory flashed back to a childhood incident. A game we played near the river where Emma had slipped and nearly drowned. I never spoke of it again, too afraid she'd blame me. I couldn't lose Lily like that too. "Lily, we need to go now." I pulled harder, fighting against whatever pull the trunk had over her. With one final desperate shove, I tugged her away, the momentum sending us both crashing to the floor. Just then, the trunk exploded open, splintering into pieces as a swirling darkness poured out like smoke. I heard screams that felt as real as the cold air around me. Then everything went silent. "What was that?" Lily whispered, eyes darting toward the remnants of the trunk. I didn't have the answer. Whatever we had awakened wasn't just a memory. It felt like it was alive, and it was hungry. Before I could say anything, the temperature in the room plummeted, and I sensed a presence behind me. My instincts kicked in, and without thinking I grabbed Lily's hand. "Run!" We dashed towards the stairs, adrenaline coursing through us. But as we reached the top, a loud crash echoed through the basement, the darkness behind us like a predator closing in. "Don't look back," I yelled, even as panic clawed at my throat. I knew we had to get out, but I felt something lurking just behind us, hungry for our fear. With every hurried step, I questioned what we had unleashed. Whatever it was, it had no intention of letting us go that easily. As we reached the last step, I turned for just a moment, and that's when I saw it. A dark shape, twisted and wrong, rushing toward us, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. We barreled through the door, slamming it shut, but I knew deep down that it wasn't finished with us yet. We stumbled into the living room, gasping for breath. The door slammed behind us, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever that thing was, it could get through anything. "Where do we go now?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. I looked around, desperately trying to think of a plan. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stretch, inching closer. "Maybe we can call for help?" I suggested. But the thought felt weak, like a candle flickering in a storm. The phone was in the kitchen, but would we even make it there? Suddenly a chilling breeze swept through the room, causing the curtains to flutter. I stiffened. "No, we have to." Before I could finish, the lights flickered, casting eerie, dancing shadows. Then, a whisper reached my ears again, soft but insistent. "Help me." It was the same voice as before, but now it felt more present, almost tangible. "Do you hear that?" I asked Lily, watching her face pale. She nodded, eyes glued to the door. "We need to go. Now," I urged. I glanced at the clock on the wall. Time felt like it was slipping away, seconds stretching into eternity. I grabbed Lily's hand. "This way." We sprinted toward the kitchen, but halfway there, I stopped. The whispers grew louder, almost a cacophony, and suddenly I felt drawn back toward the living room. I wanted to figure out what we had woken up. "Are you crazy? We can't go back," Lily exclaimed, tugging on my arm. I have to know what's going on," I replied, the pull becoming unbearable. "Just wait here." I released her hand and crept back towards the living room. The air thickened, heavy with a blend of fear and curiosity. I peered carefully around the corner, heart racing as I searched for any sign of that dark figure. The edge of the room was consumed by shadows, but the source of the whispers was unmistakable now. It came from the remnants of the trunk. The splintered wood lay in disarray, but something glimmered from within. I took a step closer, feeling an inexplicable urge wash over me. "What do you want?" I called out, hoping for an answer, though I feared what it would be. The darkness coiled tighter, forming shapes that flickered in and out of existence. "Help me," the voice repeated, this time tinged with pain. My skin prickled as I struggled to remain calm. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice shaking. That's when I saw it, an object glimmering faintly at the bottom of the trunk. I couldn't tell what it was, but it beckoned me. I stepped toward it, my foot crunching on some debris. But Lily's voice cut through my thoughts. "Please, let's leave," she pleaded. I turned to her, torn between my instincts and the pull of the voice. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could, an icy gust blew past me, slamming the living room door open wide. Panic surged as a shadow flickered on the other side, taking shape. It recoiled for a moment, as if peering into the room. I felt a rush of dread. It was waiting. We needed to make a choice, stay and face the unknown or flee into the darkness. I looked at Lily. "We have to go." But then out of the corner of my eye I caught the movement again. The darkness shifted, revealing something, and a single word escaped my lips before I could stop myself. "Help." As the figure began to move, I knew there was no turning back now. Adrenaline pushed me forward, but confusion tangled my feet. The figure emerged slowly from the swirling shadows, revealing a form that was unmistakably human. My breath hitched in my throat. "What are you?" I managed to whisper, searching for any signs of life in its spectral presence. It didn't speak, but its dark eyes bore into me like twin voids. The room felt like it was closing in, pressing against my chest. I turned to Lily, desperation bubbling in my stomach. "Lily, we need to—" Before I could finish, the figure lifted a hand, and the air crackled with an unsettling energy. A low, resonating hum filled the space, vibrating through my bones. I stumbled back, caught between fear and curiosity. "Help me," it finally said, its voice echoing around the room. It wasn't just a whisper anymore, but a plea laced with anguish. The shadows danced wildly as if they were alive, their movements whipping around the figure, creating a chaotic aura. "No, we can't," Lily cried out, backing away from the door. But something within me pulled me closer, a fierce compulsion urging me to engage. "What do you want from us?" I asked, stepping forward, my heart racing. The figure tilted its head, a haunting sadness shadowing its face. "Release me," it urged, its tone shifting. "I am trapped." Trapped. The words struck a chord. I glanced over at the trunk littered with debris. Something about it felt wrong, like it contained not just the remains of an old life, but something vital yet forgotten. "Wait, what do you mean trapped?" I pressed, my throat dry. "What's in there?" As I spoke, the trunk's wood creaked, as if responding to my question. The urging presence made my fingers twitch. I took another step forward, the cool air swirling around me. "That evil has come back to claim me," the figure rasped. "You must act before it takes you too." I turned back to Lily, who was now stuttering, trying to find words. "This is insane, it can't be real," she exclaimed, shaking her head. "Maybe it is," I replied, still focused on the figure. "If it's telling the truth, I don't care, let's just leave." She grabbed my arm, hesitant but firm. Suddenly, the shadows around the figure seethed and twisted, a dark mass boiling over itself. It recoiled, and the sorrowful expression morphed into one of anger. A gust of wind slammed through the room, extinguishing the dim light from the lamps, plunging us into darkness. "Don't leave!" it shrieked, the voice stretching like a taut string ready to snap. Panic bubbled up inside me. I could hear each breath I took, as if the air had been sucked out of the room. I looked back at Lily, who was frozen in place, fear painted across her face. Then there was a loud crash. The trunk shattered. As splinters flew across the room, I saw what lay within. A key shimmering in the pale light of the now exposed moon. I reached for it, but as my fingers brushed against the cool metal, the figure lunged forward, endless shadows pouring from its body, threatening to engulf me. I pulled my hand back just in time, heart racing. The darkness twisted around the room, and I knew one thing instinctively. I had to make a choice, grab the key or run. But before I could decide, the shadows exploded outward, cascading towards us. I turned to Lily, a single thought coursing through my mind. I had to do something, and quick. With the chaos rising around us, I took a deep breath. "We're leaving now," I shouted and grabbed her hand, desperate to escape before the darkness consumed everything. We stumbled back into the hallway, the floorboards creaking beneath our frantic steps. Lily's grip was tight, almost a lifeline in the panic-filled maze of the house. "What the hell was that?" she gasped, her breath ragged. "I don't know," I admitted, fear knotting in my stomach. The echoes of the figure's voice still lingered in my ears, blending with the overwhelming shadows that seemed to follow us. "But we can't just ignore it. We need to get out of here." "Or call for help," Lily shot back, her eyes darting around like she expected the darkness to swallow us whole at any moment. But I knew deep down that this wasn't something we could explain to anyone. It felt too personal, too twisted. We rushed toward the front door, but it was locked tight. I twisted the handle frantically, pulling and pushing with all my strength. "Come on!" I shouted, my voice tinged with desperation. "What about the windows?" Lily suggested, glancing at the nearby ones. "Maybe we can climb out?" "Not if the shadows are still there," I replied, glancing over my shoulder. I half expected to see them slithering after us, but all I found was emptiness. For now, the key, the shimmering key, It danced in the back of my mind. I hesitated, my heart pounding. Lily, I think we need to go back for it. Are you crazy? We need to leave, not go back. She was shaking, and I didn't blame her. I was terrified, too. I know it sounds reckless, but if that figure is real and the trunk shattered for a reason, I think the key must mean something. My resolve solidified. We might not see a way out otherwise. She hesitated for a moment, glancing back towards the darkness that loomed behind us. Fine, but if we find anything else scary, I know. I won't take any chances. I cut her off, already turning back toward the sinister hallway. We crept cautiously back, every soft creak of the house making my heart leap. I focused on the room where we'd encountered the figure, feeling that we needed to confront whatever dark truth lay within. Just before we stepped inside, something caught my eye. A flicker of movement, swift and deliberate. It was almost too quick to register, but there it was. I squinted, my breath held tight as I tried to make sense of it. "Did you see that?" I whispered, anxiety creeping into my voice. "See what?" Lily replied, her brows furrowed in concern. "Something behind the figure." But as I stepped closer, the shadows poured in, a churn of black that seemed alive and hungry. "We have to hurry," I shouted, pulling Lily with me. We darted through the doorway, heart rates falling into a frantic rhythm as we searched for the key on the debris-strewn floor. The air grew thick with unease, and every flicker of the remaining light felt like a countdown. And there it was, the key, nestled amongst the splintered wood, bathed in silver moonlight. I snatched it up without thinking. The moment it touched my palm, a jolt surged through me, warm but unsettling. I turned to find Lily staring at me, wide-eyed. "What now?" That's when I heard it. A soft whisper brushed past my ear, carrying a chilling message that sent ice down my spine. "You shouldn't have taken that." Before I could react, the shadows lunged forward, reaching for us again. Just as I turned to run, I caught a glimpse of something in the corner. A dark figure, this time with no features, simply a menacing outline. My heart dropped. "What the hell is that?" I yelled, panic flooding my voice. Lily's scream pierced the air and everything went dark again. I stumbled back, the echo of Lily's scream fading into the oppressive void. I reached out, desperate to find her in the darkness that had engulfed everything around us. My heart raced, each thrum resonating with the fear that twisted in my gut. "Lily!" I shouted, my voice hoarse against the suffocating silence. "Over here!" she called, a faint tremor in her voice that sent a shiver through me. I scrambled toward the sound, feeling my way through the murky air until my fingers brushed against her arm. "Are you okay?" I gasped, relieved to find her close, but the shadows felt hungry, swirling and alive, restless with something dark. "I can't see anything," she admitted, panic lacing her tone. "It feels like it's closing in." "Just hold on." I pulled her close, hoping that our combined warmth would fend off the cold that sought to breach our resolve. I remembered the key, the pulse of energy it had sent through me. We have to find a way out. In the blackness, I raised the key, hoping the moonlight would catch it and provide us a semblance of direction. To my surprise, a faint glow encompassed it, illuminating just enough space around us to form shadows against the walls. I could make out the remnants of the shattered trunk, scattered pieces of wood and darkness swirling together. "Maybe the key will open something," I said, a sliver of hope igniting inside me. "The other door, the one to the basement?" "There's no time for gambling," Lily replied, her voice strained. "We have to get out now." "No, wait!" I insisted, pulling her toward the basement door, though every instinct screamed to flee. "If this is what it takes to get rid of whatever that was, we have to try." We reached the door just as the shadows pushed against us, swirling in chaotic tendrils. "Hurry!" Lily urged, her fear sharpening my own. I fumbled with the key until it slid into the lock, my trembling hands forcing the mechanism to turn. To my astonishment, a gust of air exploded from behind the door, as though whatever was trapped inside was desperate to escape. The door creaked open slowly, an expanse of darkness awaiting us with a faint echo of whispers. "Help me!" It was the girl's voice again, distant but beckoning. I felt a chill run down my spine. "We have to go in," I said, my heart pounding in my chest. The air shifted, thick and suffocating, curling around our legs as we hesitated on the threshold. "It's too late, we don't know what's down there," Lily protested, but my resolve forced me forward, pulling her along with me. As we descended what felt like an endless spiral of stairs, an unsettling unease settled around us. The walls seemed to lean inward, and a cold mist clung to our skin. I could hear my heartbeat thundering against the silence. "What if we're too late for Emma? What if—" "Stop," Lily said sharply. "No more what-ifs." The basement opened into a small, dimly lit room, where shadows danced playfully across the walls. I quickly scanned the space for any sign of what had called out to us. My breath caught as I spotted something, a small pile of scraps and remnants at the center, oddly arranged like an altar. The glow from the key shimmered mysteriously, reflecting the strange symbols carved into the floor. "We have to be careful," I murmured, stepping closer, feeling the atmosphere shift as though it was alive. I can't shake the feeling that whatever this is, it's tied to everything. But as we approached the altar, the shadows surged forth. A chorus of whispers filled the room, rising in volume, echoing around us. "You shouldn't have come back." My heart sank, the voices mingled with the overpowering fear. "No, we're here to help," I shouted, my voice struggling against the onslaught of dark energy. From the pile emerged the outline of a small figure, almost human, yet rippling, a shadowy silhouette. For a moment, everything froze, and then the shadows twirled around it, squeezing tighter. The figure appeared human, with wild eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. "Emma?" I breathed, taken aback by the manifestation of fear and longing. But as soon as I uttered the name, the figure contorted into something monstrous, warping into a dark reflection of itself. "Help me!" it cried, but the tone was different, suffused with desperation, tinged with something sinister. "Stop! We're here to help," I yelled. "But we need to understand first." Choking on my words, I glanced at Lily. I could feel the shadows pull, intensifying as if we were moments away from being swallowed whole. "We have to stay together," I urged, ignoring the tightening sensation in my chest. But just as we bonded in our resolve, the shadows roared, consuming us again in a cacophony of fear. The chilling wind whines tore at our skin, and in the madness, the outline of Emma dimmed, her features fluctuating between hope and terror. I squeezed Lily's hand tighter, feeling the warmth slip further away. The key burned in my palm, calling me to act. On instinct, I pressed the key against the symbols on the floor, praying for release. The shadows howled as the energy erupted, illuminating the room in a blinding light. It surged through the darkness, and then came the silence. The shadows evaporated, drawn back into the corners of the room, leaving us gasping for air as the figure dissolved into nothingness. I blinked, the light fading back into an eerie dimness. What just happened?" Lily asked, her voice shaky. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling the weight lift slightly. In the aftermath, the shadows had receded, but the sense of dread still lingered. "But we need to leave." As we turned, the doorway suddenly slammed shut, plunging us back into darkness. My heart raced again as I groped for the handle, twisting desperately to escape. We were both trapped. "Is this it? Are we stuck here forever?" Lily cried, panic rising in her voice. I slammed my fist against the door, but no answer came. I felt the walls inch closer, the dread swallowing us once more. I glanced at the fragments of the trunk on the floor, scattered pieces of a past we had inadvertently unleashed. "I don't know what's happening," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "But I can't shake the feeling that some part of Emma is still here, that she wants us to figure it out, or pay the price for waking it." Lily looked at me, desperation pooling in her eyes as time hung suspended in a thick tension. In that moment, the shadows whispered the name we had long tried to escape. Lucy. "Who was she?" I asked, shaking off the winter chill, my thoughts racing. "Was she connected? I don't know, I can't—" And then it hit me. The link, the incomplete story we had stumbled into. The echoes of the past collided with our reality, and just like that, everything went dark again. But as our vision dimmed, something deeper emerged, a flicker of truth. Emma's face shined brightly in the chaos, and I couldn't help but wonder if after all this, after the shadows, there would be someone left to tell the tale. We were survivors, yes, but how many questions would remain unanswered in the silence that followed? I felt it then, brewing in the depths of our entanglements. A deeper threat shimmered on the horizon, a haunting reminder that it wasn't over just yet. As the light dissipated, I clutched the key tightly, grasping the hope intertwined with the unseen, knowing that while we may find our way out, the echoes of the past would always linger, haunting our steps like shadows that refuse to fade away.